Welcome to the official U.S. press introduction for Yamaha's 2024 MT-09. Yes! Here we are in Northern California, and we have a good old-fashioned mechanical key. Thank you, Yamaha Motor. Let's start this bad boy up. Now for 2024, Yamaha Motor's done a number of really nice modifications to this vehicle. Let's start with the engine. The engine continues to be powered by Yamaha's tried and true 890cc CP3 inline 3 engine. This engine features dual overhead camshafts and a 12-valve cylinder head. It pumps out 107 ponies to the business end of that 180/55 series Bridgestone Batlax S23 tire. The thing we really like about this bike is just its engine. This engine's a hoot. It has loads of charisma, a ton of torque, and is smooth as silk. When Yamaha reworked this engine configuration for the 2021 model year, it really closed the gap between it and Triumph. It actually, in our opinion, this power plant is superior to what Triumph offers on its straight 77765. It's smoother, it has more power, and it sounds cool. Now for 2021, Yamaha has added these really nice air intake, speaker-like air intake cutouts. What these things do is they allow the noise, the awesome melody from the air intake to come out into the cockpit. So it's really, really nice. It sounds totally awesome. Now inside the powertrain, Yamaha has done some nice things to the transmission. 3rd through 6th gears are new, and some of the other gears inside have changed. We never noticed that the Yamaha's 6-speed transmission had any problems before in the 2021 through 2023 model, but it's cool to see Yamaha paying attention to the details. We have noticed that this transmission certainly meshes between 3rd through 6th gear a lot better, especially at high RPM. Obviously you can't notice that going to 6th gear, but 3rd, 4th, you definitely feel that transmission shift through its shift just better. Matching the improved 6-speed transmission is an enhanced electronic quick shifter that allows for full throttle upshifts and downshifts without having to use the clutch. This electronic quick shifter also now works where you can downshift while you still have the throttle on. So the previous version didn't allow that. Now you can do that. That's a really handy feature. Of course, the auto blip downshift function, basically it just enhances the stability as you're entering a turn. I love motorcycles that have that technology, and it works really well on this MT-09. Very slick and fast shifting. Power continues to be put back through a cable actuated clutch. This clutch lever now has adjustment. Before it was fixed, now you can move the position of the clutch lever in or out just like you can on the forward brake lever. Now another big change for this bike is the ergonomics. Of course, the 890cc engine continues to drink from a 3.7 gallon fuel tank. It's a little bit small in our opinion. 4.5 gallon fuel tank would be better. We've averaged about 34 miles per gallon on this ride. So these CP3 generation engines they're a little bit thirsty, and paired with the small-ish fuel tank capacity, you're only going to get 110, 115 miles of range out of this bike. Maybe 120. But we definitely would like to see a bigger fuel tank. If you really ride this bike at a slow speeds or lug it in top gear, you'll get better fuel mileage, obviously, but what's the point in that? These bikes are sport naked bikes. You want to be holding the throttle wide and having a good time. Now this fuel tank, it's a little bit wider up front, but it's actually shorter in terms of height. These leg recesses have deeper cutouts too, so there's more room for you to put your knees in and squeeze the bike. It's very comfortable. I really like the fuel tank shape and the ability to squeeze the bike with your knees for added stability when you're on the brakes. Now, the position of the handlebars changed. The sweep is more rearward, and the handlebar is now a little bit lower. The rise of the handlebars also changed a little bit. Basically, they went from a more forward upright bar bend to something that's a little bit more swept back and low. It's not a radical change. You definitely can tell that it's different, but it's not radical in the fact that the handlebar has like excessive rearward sweep. Generally, when you have a sport type bike, manufacturers like to really put rearward sweep on the bike because that's kind of what a sport bike has. I mean, obviously this has a handlebar, not clip-ons, but that is kind of what they're going after. It's just a more sporty handlebar position, and it works well with this vehicle. I really like the upright forward position of the MT-09 bar. I wouldn't say this is necessarily better, but it definitely works with this refined chassis concept. The rider foot pegs have also been repositioned. They are now tucked up a little bit higher and positioned more rearward. That normally puts strain on the rider's knees, but for some reason we're not really feeling that. This foot peg position works really well. I think a lot has to do with the position of the subframe. So the subframe is now flatter. The subframe's flatter, which allowed Yamaha motor to fit a flatter seat. So I think that flatter seat just it reduces the amount of bending that your knee has to have, and it's just a real comfortable riding position. It doesn't feel necessarily that much more canted rearward. Obviously the 2021 through 2023 model had a little bit more of a forward cant, but it's just a nice subtle change. Complementing that flat seat is the addition of a new shock linkage. So on this MT-09, the shock works through a linkage that connects the swing arm and the frame. So unlike the MT-07 that has a direct mount shock, this one works through a linkage with a new curve that's set just to give the bike a little bit more balanced handling profile. Other subtle tweaks Yamaha's done in the handling department are the engine mounts and this bracket that runs across the steering head. They've tuned that for optimum rigidity. As usual, this motorcycle is employed with a 41mm KYB fork, and we have a damp rebound and spring preload adjustable shock. So the fork offers compression and rebound damping. You do need to use a screwdriver for that. There's also spring preload, and you can make dampening adjustments at the back too with a screwdriver. The ride quality of this bike is fairly good. It rides over the bumps real nice. It soaks up the rough stuff, but still has favorable handling qualities when you're giving her the business. This motorcycle with a full tank gas weighs in at 425 pounds, which is relatively lightweight for a naked bike. There are some bikes out there that are lighter, but I wouldn't say that this bike feels heavy at all. Lifting off the kickstand, it doesn't feel heavy, and certainly with the 17-inch wheels in motion, this thing is a very lively handling motorcycle. Now, because of the slight modifications that Yamaha did to the riding position, i.e. having the rider be a little bit more weight forward on this vehicle, they did change the fork spring. So the fork spring is a little bit stiffer on this 2024 model. And of course, the valving stacks have been modified to control that fork movement. So real favorable ride quality. Again, we weigh 210 pounds, 6 foot tall. I fit on this bike good, and it's riding really well. It's not too stiff, it's not too soft. Now, keeping tabs on everything is this really slick 5-inch color TFT, which replaces the teensy-weensy 3.5-inch display on the predecessor. I love this display. It's nice and bright. It's easy to read. This overhauled switchgear is a tremendous improvement. Thank you, Yamaha. The switchgear is nice and chunky. It's easy to use with gloves. The menu navigation is super slick, and you can change all of the vehicle settings very easily. Yamaha has now adopted global riding modes, just like many of the other manufacturers. So you can have these global riding modes based on the conditions you're riding. You can also customize the electronic settings. So as usual, Yamaha offers combined engine power and throttle response as a setting. They call it power. Then they have traction control. Then they have slide control, and they have lift control, which is wheelie control. You can also adjust whether you want engine brake, whether it be on or off. Basically all that does is it feeds fuel into the throttle after you let off the throttle, just to have a little bit more freewheeling effect going into a corner. That's how that works. So really easy to do. The throttle response on this bike is nice and direct. It's a little bit sharp feeling. I was trying to do wheelies earlier today, and I almost kind of looped her out a little bit. So I'm like, oh god, that's a little bit too sharp for me, but it's probably just because I haven't been doing wheelies in a while. Of course, you can adjust that throttle response setting globally within the power setting. 1 is the most power, most aggressive throttle response. 4 is the least right now. We're riding in power mode 2 inside this custom menu. In addition to the super slick TFT, now we have cruise control. Yes! Standard cruise control. Really easy to use. Now we can ride without our hands. This is awesome. I love cruise control. I'm so happy. This bike's only heated grips away from perfection in the creature comfort department, but you can always get that as an OE accessory. Now this bike continues to roll on 17-inch aluminum rims with triple disc hydraulic brakes. We've got 4 piston radial mount calipers up front and a single piston caliper out back. During the last update, the 2021 MT-09 was fitted with a larger diameter rear brake rotor, and that really helps. I'm a big rear brake guy. I love the rear brake, and it's just nice having that more surface area on that back brake. The thing has a really responsive back brake, which I really like. The front brakes also benefit from a Brembo radial mount master cylinder that really does a good job of pushing hydraulic fluid through the circuit and giving you a really nice feel and stopping power at the lever. Brakes on this bike feel nice and just responsive, and that little bit of extra spring rate in the fork, you could really get on those brakes, and the front end stays balanced, doesn't pitch aggressively when you're using the front brake. I really like that. Of course, we have fixed always on ABS. Fixed always on ABS that reduces or mitigates fully the ability to lock up the front or rear wheel if you use too much brake application for the surface. So that's nice, but I wish we could disable ABS so we could do endos and brake slides, but that's the way it is in the modern world. It is cool that you can manually disable traction control if you want. It's really easy to do at a stop with just a few swipes of the button, and you can do wheelies and other things to your heart's content. This electronics package is obviously based on Yamaha's then cutting edge IMU powered electronics fitted on the 2015 YZF R1. It works really good. It allows you to ride comfortably within your comfort window or performance envelope, and if you go beyond that, the electronics just help keep everything from going too zany in terms of rear wheel slip. So really nice electronics packages. Yeah, it's kind of old now, but the fact of the matter is it works really good, and having an IMU chip. It's the same chip that's in a modern smartphone. It just gives this vehicle positional awareness on the road in terms of pitch, yaw, and roll. And with that kind of data, the vehicle is able to curtail power based on where the vehicle is in relation to the road. Works really well. One more thing we wanted to mention is the maintenance intervals on this vehicle. Now obviously Yamaha stands behind this product with a 1-year warranty, and these things are made Japanese tough. But in terms of maintenance intervals, this motorcycle goes 4,000 miles between oil changes. So 4,000 miles between oil changes, it holds right over 3 quarts of oil. And Yamaha Motor wants you to swap the engine oil filter, the cartridge style oil filter, every other oil change. So 8,000 mile engine oil filter replacement intervals. The valve inspection interval, this is really crazy, folks. So Yamaha wants you to inspect each of the 12 valves at 26,600 mile increment. Isn't that crazy? 26,600 miles valve inspection intervals. That's just amazing. Without a doubt, this engine has one of the longest valve inspection cycles out of any vehicle we've ever tested, which is really awesome. Of course, you're also going to have to swap the air filter. Air filters, I think right around 15,000 miles, if I can remember correctly. And spark plugs are, oddly enough, every 8,000 miles. But in our experience, spark plugs generally go a lot longer than that, but still Yamaha says you should change them every 8,000 miles. Well folks, that's a quick rundown of Yamaha's 2024 MT-09 naked bike. $10,600 for this vehicle. It comes with a 1-year manufacturer's warranty and it is built in Japan. This is a really nice bike. It's really neat to see Yamaha evolving the pedigree of its middleweight naked bike. You have to remember this bike is 10 years old now. It debuted for the 2014 model year as the FZ-09. Then I think around 2018 they changed the model name to MT, Masters of Torque, to better fit in its global naked bike structure. So 10 years of MT-09, and these bikes are absolutely awesome. They've come really far in a short amount of time. They're a lot more premium than they used to be. This nice, bold, and beautiful 5-inch color TFT, this nice chunky switch gear, the ability to pair your telephone, your smartphone, with the vehicle via Yamaha's Y-Connect app. So you download the Y-Connect app, you pair the vehicle, and you can monitor various settings when you're away from the bike. You can also, with downloading the Garmin Streets app, both apps are free. You download the Garmin Streets app, and now you can get turn-by-turn navigation on the display face, just like you can with BMW Motorrad's vehicles with its Ride Connected app. Really slick. It's neat to see Yamaha pushing the technology envelope and giving us US riders tools to make our motorcycling life better. I really like that. Overall, there's really not a whole lot not to like about the MT-09. It looks way cooler. It's even more comfortable and sporty. It's got a more high quality pedigree with the fitment of this nice switchgear and the instrument display. And for $10,600, it really represents good value in the class. If I was shopping for a middleweight naked bike, I would absolutely have this MT-09 on the shopping list. It's definitely worth the couple $100 bump versus the 2023 version. You get a lot more vehicle for your money. Well, as always, folks, that was our official review of Yamaha's 2024 MT-09. Make sure to surf on over to our website to read our official review. Log on to Instagram, at Adam Wahid and at Motorcycle Online handles. You'll see tons of easy to consume and fun video content on this vehicle. Give this video thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs it down if you didn't, because we'd love to hear from the naysayers. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for riding with us.